This is lesson 4 on Someday My Prince Will Come. In the previous lesson, I looked at Miles Davis's solo. In this session, I'm going to be looking at Wynton Kelly's solo. If you have access to my Tippy site, you'll be able to download the worksheet and the solo that's been written out for you to have a look through. And I've marked lots of information actually on there, but I will be going through it in this lesson. The difference between Miles Davis's solo and Wynton Kelly's solo is quite interesting. The two instruments are different and their approach is different, but obviously the music is the same, and that's what I'll be looking at in this lesson. In this lesson I'm going to play the solo that Wynton Kelly played on Someday My Prince Will Come, 1961, the bonus track with Miles Davis. Notice that Wynton's approach is to use a variety of rhythms and chromaticism. The piano lends itself to fast notes more easily than the trumpet, and the solo below demonstrates that. So the solo below demonstrates that refers to my worksheet. So if you have that in front of you, you can see I've marked quite a lot of information actually on the sheet. Some of the things that I noticed when I was comparing the two solos is that the Wynton Kelly solo covers a larger range than a trumpet solo, which was quite limited because of the instrument, and also there are some much more use of semiquavers in the piano solo, and it's all to do with what's easier on each instrument and what is characteristic of that instrument. And as you can see, the piano has many octaves, so pianists tend to play over a larger range. Here is the Wynton Kelly solo. It's slightly slower than the recording. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. And that was the solo, a little bit slower than the original. I'm just going to go through some of the things that I noticed in the solo. So there's nothing in the first bar, and what we can learn from that, and also the Miles Davis solo, is that you don't have to come in straight away on beat 1. There is actually a little phrase that he plays just at the end of the saxophone solo, just before coming into here. But bar 1, there's nothing there. Bar 2, there's a simple note, and then he's off. The third bar, we've got chord tones of E flat major, and an anticipation of the flat 9 of the next chord. In the next phrase, we've got an enclosure, and the enclosure is C. So to get there, we enclose it by the note above it and the note below, and you get this nice little. It actually feels like a bit of a turn. If you play classical music, you would be familiar with that term, the turn. It's quite a nice little phrase here. So the chord's F7, but a lot of the choice of notes are on dissonant notes. So we've got the 13th, flat 13, sharp 9, flat 9, the end of that phrase is actual another enclosure. So we're enclosing F by the note above, G flat, note below, which is E. Just play that phrase again, because it is really quite hip, that one. Nice resolution on the 3rd of D minor. And you get this similar phrase. In fact, in the worksheet you can see it's just above the bar that we're talking about, is almost identical phrase. chromatic there. Here's the second A, and we've got a lovely... Now compare that to Miles Davis's first phrase and his second phrase in the second A. They really like their chord tones, and I cannot emphasize enough how strong a phrase is if you use the chord tones. So here's another example of that. Wynton Kelly going. I think this is a beautiful 4-bar phrase. We've got lovely rhythms, and in fact later in the worksheet I isolate this as a useful tool for improvising. I just play that again. So we've got a nice full first phrase, rest, another rest, but it's developed rhythmically with that triplet, and then not just a quaver rest, this time a crotchet rest. It should resolve here, but it doesn't. The resolution is delayed. A kind of turn, enclosure idea. So by delaying resolutions, it does create tension. I'll just do that again. And then this was a little tricky bit. It's actually not that hard to play on the piano if you get the right fingering, and that's another thing that if you play piano I would seriously suggest putting in some fingering for tricky passages. So here we go. I like that phrase. Chromaticism, chord tones here. To the last line, and I've put a strong phrase. Really important to have a really good ending. We could say that the last 4 bars are really strong. Why are they really strong? Just has a lovely shape. It goes down, it goes up, it ends with a really strong rhythm. Let's play that again. That chromaticism to come onto the major third of B flat, that's nice. So we're delaying getting there. That note is common to both chords. Those are the first 4 notes of the altered scale or diminished scale. Semitone, tone, semitone. Sounds quite hip. That's the 9th. And we've got 2 tonic notes to finish there. And that's the solo that Wynton Kelly plays on Someday My Prince Will Come. And in the next lesson I'm going to look at the chords and the chord tones of the piece. In the next lesson I'll be looking at the chord tones from Someday My Prince Will Come. I've been talking a lot about chord tones, especially in Miles Davis's solo, and so I thought it would be really useful to see those chords written out, and I will be playing them both as chords and as broken chords. You should be able to join in on your instrument, so in the next lesson it's probably handy if you've got your instrument very close to you, and if you want to play along, that's perfectly possible.